Hi, good afternoon. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. It's a great opportunity where we can share with like-minded people to understand, to explain what we are doing, and also understand from their perspective how exactly we can give better solution and also go close to the ground thing. And when we talk about role of IoT in agriculture, we can look at broadly like a technology. And the role of technology is how do you make it big? For example, if you are looking at a 1 acre farmland, if I need to cultivate that, obviously it's going to be a little bit difficult for us to learn and adapt that to that, because we may not be in a rural area, not necessarily be a farmer. But tomorrow, if you want to make it 10 acre, 100 acre, 1,000 acres, that's when the technology comes to scale up. Because without technology, I will not be able to communicate with too many people. I will not be able to bring in consistency. In simple terms, that's what is called engineering. Engineering, according to me, is nothing but how do you bring in replicability and repeatability in the process. So the moment you look at technology in agriculture, which could be your IoT or AI or ML or any of those things, obviously all of them are helping farmers to understand how do they repeat the same activity over and over again to get better results. And while we speak about this, I'll try to take some examples of what we are doing at Cultivate. And just to introduce Cultivate, we are a Bangalore-based company, and we were founded in 2016 with a core objective. How do you give precision analytics? Now, when we say precision analytics, is nothing but how do you take some information and provide meaningful insight to farmers? That's what we are doing precisely with our farmers, both in India and outside. I want to start off with two things. Most often you would have seen this kind of lands that you are seeing, and I've taken a name of a farmer. And by the way, this is not a fiction, but it's a real farmer called Harish from Kolar. And the story is basically Kolar, this is roughly around 10-year-old story. And where there was water table was at a very low level, around 1,800 feet below the ground. And if you put 10 bore wells, more likely you would have succeeded in 1 or 2 bore wells. And because the depth was around 1,800 to 2,000 feet, each bore well would have costed nothing less than 5 lakh rupees. And this boy called Harish, who was from a local community, he had 3 acres of farmland. And because of his passion towards agriculture, he decided to do farming, and he spoke to his family and he said he want to put a bore well. And first thing his parents said is basically it's going to fail, because that was their prior experience. Already they had put 1 or 2 bore wells and they had failed. And this guy was very adamant and he said, no, I don't want to listen to you, but I want to give it a try. What is wrong in trying? That's what each one of us will do. Yeah, or each one of us will think. So he started like a mad person. He went on putting 1, 2, 3, all the way till 9 bore wells or 8 bore wells. And to his bad luck and to his bad luck of his family, all the bore wells failed. And there was a lot of loan that he has to clear. And as a result, he was supposed to sell 1 acre of farmland. Now, I don't know how many of you can visualize what happened to Harish. Is he still around? And if he's around, is he still trying to repay the, what do you call, the issues that he has created for his family, because they had 3 acres and he made themselves 1 acre for no benefit, or what is it?
Mr. Mallesh,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt here. Your screen is not visible.
Okay. I have selected the same thing. I don't know, like,
You can stop and restart sharing.
yeah.
As of now, I don't see.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, now it is visible.
Are you seeing the first screen called Precision Analytics now?
It is about what happened to Harish and Shivaram.
Okay, I think there is a small problem. I don't know why it is not moving. Anyway, we'll
You have to
manage.
manually select, and in
Correct.
that case, yeah.
I'll do it. Now, this is not only very specific to Harish that I mentioned, but even a farmer called Shivram from Mandya. Mandya is known to be a sugar belt, a sugar city of Karnataka. And you would be knowing that there are a lot of suicidal cases. It might have come down a little bit less now in the recent years, but earlier there was a time where there was so many suicides. Now, it used to puzzle me because I always would have believed when farmers are having more water, they will be able to do better farming. but it did not appear to be the case. So when we spoke to farmer, he said they do farming when there is water, and when there is no water, they don't do anything like that. So basically, that was a loss of one crop season or something like that. And many times, it is not that water is available for the full season. Imagine you would have started your summer crop in the month of January kind of thing or February, and you are expecting some water to be given by the department through irrigation canals in the month of April. But if the department has stopped the irrigation because there is no water in the dam, obviously they will stop giving water to the farmers. So invariably, whichever farmer has put the crop, halfway through they have to stop. So it is not that there is full crop or no crop. Even halfway through, they have lost lot of times. So nowadays, it has become a common phenomenon where there is no summer crop for these farmers. So they really don't know what to do. And so the general problem, why is it happening? Because the population in the world is increasing. It is expected to hit around 10 billion people by 2050. And as more and more people are there, I'm sorry, I need to move to the next slide. Sorry. Is my screen with agri challenges looking seen now?
1 second. Yes.
Yeah. So the biggest problem is the global population is increasing and it is hitting 10 billion by 2050. That means with the increase in population, we should be producing more food. But to produce more food, we should be having more land and more water. But unfortunately, we are taking more land for whatever reason it is, and we are also consuming more food, and we are also overusing water. As a result, there is shortage of water and shortage of land. What it essentially means is the world is expecting the farmer to produce more food using less input. But unfortunately, farmer is not having access to technology that is viable for him or making sense for him. As a result, he makes uninformed decisions where he is losing up to 40% yield and also consume more than 50% water and pesticide and other things. And not only these two things, in case of crops like paddy kind of thing, he also produces carbon, what do you call, greenhouse gases. Now, what does Cultivate do? Not only Cultivate, there are many companies. I'm just taking an example of Cultivate. We provide insight to farmer through precision analytics using a combination of IoT and artificial intelligence and machine learning. This helps the farmer to get right information at right time so that they can make informed decisions. I'll play a small video that's going to help you understand what is Cultivate's technology and how technology can help the farmers.
Punjab's distinction of being the highest producer of rice in the country has come at a huge cost. Water tables in the state have fallen dramatically as farmers need large quantities of groundwater to grow rice. Cultivate developed a static sensor that measures soil moisture level and sends data in real time every 30 minutes to cloud servers. When moisture levels drop in the soil, the farmer receives a message to irrigate his fields. Once soil moisture reaches the appropriate level, another message goes to the farmer to stop his pump. This precise advice to farmers allows them to let fields dry up and flood alternatively, thus saving 50% of water.
ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਡੀਜ਼ਲ ਦੀ ਬਚਤ ਆ ਜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ 200 ਲੀਟਰ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ 1 ਏਕੜ ਦਾ 1 ਕਿੱਲੇ ਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡਾ 20-25 ਲੀਟਰ ਦਾ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ 'ਚ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਚਤ ਆ ਜੀ ਡੀਜ਼ਲ ਦੀ ਬਚਤ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਜੀ ਬਚਤ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਲੈਨੇ ਘਾਹ ਕੱਢ ਲਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਵੱਟਾਂ ਵੱਢ ਲਈਆਂ ਖਾਦ ਪਾ ਲਈ ਹਰ ਟਾਈਮ ਬਚਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਬਚਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਤੇ ਫਸਲ ਵੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੋਈ ਸਾਡੀ ਜੀ
So this is what Cultivate is doing with farmers. And I'll just take some examples, okay, of what we have done and how exactly it benefit. Are you people able to see the slide with success stories?
Once. Yeah.
Okay.
We can see.
Now, if you see one common thing across our offering, okay, because when we talk to farmer, he is not interested about what happens to the world because first he has to exist. Of course, he is concerned, but it does not mean he can sacrifice his own family, own life, own land, and try to save the world. So one common question that comes across farmers is, am I going to get higher yield? So our value proposition to farmers is, yes, you are going to get higher yield because with any technology, if you use it properly and judiciously, you will be able to get higher yield, first thing. And second one is it's going to reduce the input consumption. Third one, it's going to be saving water. And most importantly, it's going to reduce his labor. So with Cultivate, we are able to demonstrate these percentages, what we have showed over a period of few years, working with paddy farmers in Punjab, as you heard in the video. And similarly, it's not only paddy, be it sugarcane or floriculture, like in a polyhouse or tobacco or even horticulture crops. Everywhere our value proposition is farmers should be able to get higher yield and reduce the cost of cultivation and also labor involved in the entire process. And I'm moving on to the next slide that talks about our technical platform. So in our tech platform, there are three layers. Because when we are talking about this technology in agriculture or IoT in agriculture, it's about what is the role of IoT and how exactly we put into use. The first thing is collecting data from the field. So when we talk about collecting data, it is data being collected from the ground, which is nothing but your soil moisture sensor, and then collecting the weather parameters such as temperature, humidity, the wind speed, wind direction, solar radiation, and rain. Such are the parameters. And on top of that, we'll also be able to collect the data from the remote sensing or through satellites. So this is going to help us to monitor large areas of land through remote sensing, which may not be very accurate, but it's going to give some kind of insights. Now, once we collect this data, it is pushed onto the cloud in real time. On the cloud, we do 2-3 activities, and one of the activities basically analyze. We analyze this data that is collected from the IoT sensors, the weather stations, and the satellite kind of thing to see whether the crops are demanding for water. Because when there is a threshold that is set, and if the thresholds are breached, obviously crops will be demanding for water, and that's what we'll analyze here. And if the crops are indeed asking for water, then there can be two kind of activities that our cloud is going to be executed. One is sending a message to farmer asking him to start irrigation in case of crops like paddy. Why paddy? Because it's a low value crop, so farmers don't want to spend too much of money, and hence we don't offer high end technology, but it's a very robust technology at a very low cost. So there is no what do you call pump and all those things. We simply send an advisory to farmer asking him to start irrigation. Whereas if you move to horticulture crops or sugarcane kind of crops, there will be sending a message to a machine. It could be a pump controller, it can be a valve, where the system automatically opens the valves and closes the valve. So that's what we do. So once the execution happens at the cloud, then we move on to the field automatically, where we continue to monitor what is happening at the field. Because in a rural scenario, it's always quite possible the command what you sent, okay, it may or may not have reached, it may not have executed within the specific time frame, or maybe the farmer was not there. Many things could have happened. We continue to monitor and escalate to take appropriate actions. Now, what do we offer with these IoT things? There are 6 offerings from us. One is basically, the first one is on the left hand side, we talk about these 4 offerings, okay, and commercialized. So first one is irrigation advisory, where we work with farmers who are growing paddy, and we send advisory to farmers asking them to start and stop irrigation. As I showed in my earlier slide, this is helping farmers to save roughly around 40% of water, get around 5 to 6% yield increase, around 20 to 30% of reduction in the pest and disease applications. And after the irrigation advisory, we have got smart irrigation, which is a full-fledged automation, where we have the ability to provide control on the farms, both in terms of starting the pump, opening the valves, and measuring the soil moisture, controlling the irrigation precisely to the extent of hundreds of liters, or even half an hour kind of thing, or 1 hour, whatever the agronomist specifies. So that's about the smart irrigation. And the next one is greenhouse automation. To larger extent in India, people are actually growing the crops that can be grown outside, inside the polyos, hoping that they are going to get better yield. Of course, they are getting better yield because the conditions inside the polyos are slightly better, but it's not the real potential. If you look into countries like Netherlands or Israel, they're actually growing almost 20 times, but that requires a very highly sophisticated system. That's where Cultivate brings in a in-between model, where by leveraging on the temperature and humidity sensor, we'll be able to start and stop the exhaust fan and cooling fans, and also turn the foggers on if it is required. So this is helping our farmers to get another 50 to 100% additional yield inside a polyhouse. And the last one is a weather station, where we'll be able to measure the temperature, humidity, and solar radiation, wind direction, wind speed, and rain, and advise the farmer saying that what is the probability of a pest or disease attacking the crop, so that they can take appropriate proactive actions. On the right hand side, you are seeing under pre-commercialization something called carbon program. In this carbon program, this is very specifically for farmers who are doing paddy. Since it's a well-established fact, when farmers are flooding the field, the methane emission happens, and as a result, carbon is generated. Our solution helps the farmer to flood the field for 1 day and allow the field to dry for remaining 5 to 6 days time. So once the farmers are doing, the methane emissions are reduced. As a result, we are able to generate the carbon credits and help the farmer to get additional money. And the last one is for smart fertigation. Here we are helping the farmer to manage their fertigation on a day-to-day basis rather than providing fertigation only when they have labor and other things available. And therefore our value proposition. As I mentioned earlier, we will be working with companies that are offering these services to farmers. It can be a company like ITC, or it can be IFCO Kisan kind of companies, or Jai Kisan, any of these companies or cooperatives that work with large farmers, farmer base. And one of the couple of things that we offer to these corporates is the water use. Because at their corporate level, obviously they will be having some kind of SDG goals. So we are helping them to understand how do they reduce it and how do they track that. So on an average, we say basically water can be brought down by 50%, which once again depends on the crop variety and the baseline and all those things. Now, since 100% of our farmers are the one who are using tube well to lift the water from ground, when we say 50% water, obviously 50% electricity is also saved. And as I mentioned in early in the earlier slide, when we work with farmers who are growing paddy, the greenhouse gas emissions are also reduced, which is approximately 40%. Now, I also demonstrated earlier saying that how do we entice the farmer by showing the profitability, which comes by way of increased yield, which is top line, and also reducing the pesticide usage, fertilizer usage, and labor utilization. And our solution is highly scalable because it's easy to install and it's a very low cost. It's a completely wireless and community-based solution. And this is some of the screenshots which you can see where there is a mobile application, or it can be on a desktop or a tablet kind of thing, where farmer will be able to understand what they need to do and what exactly is happening in the field. And for those farmers who don't have a smartphone, we have basically a communication that happens through SMS as well as voice. So they'll be able to receive the required information and carry out the activities. And what is our specialization? For paddy, it's a patented technology where we help the farmers to understand, in the patented technology where we have got the patent for India, and also we applied for patent in US and Philippines. And it's a low cost model. That's our unique strength. And it's very specific to individual plots. So if you imagine there are 100 farmers, it is not common message that goes to all 100 farmers. And even within that one single farmer, if he's having 3 different crops in 5 acres of land, the message that goes to all the 3 crops are completely different depending on the soil texture, depending on the growth stages of the crop, depending on the water requirements. It's all automatically getting customized on a cloud. And now I want to go back to explain what happened to Harish. I don't know how many of you would have visualized. Harish is still alive, and not only alive, he is earning more than what anyone can be thinking of. What he did is he leveraged on technology. Knowing that he put he tried to put 8 bore wells and not 8 of them failed. He sold 1 acre land, and the remaining 2 acres, he went to government and understood the schemes, what governments are offering. And there were a couple of schemes. One is basically the farm pond. So he took government subsidy and all those things, whatever facility government was giving, to build a pond approximately in the area of 2/3 of an acre. And in the remaining 1 acre and around another 15 guntas of land, he built a polyhouse where he is actually doing floriculture. Now, where is he going to get the water to run the floriculture unit? He collects 100% water that falls in a year, and the entire water goes into the farm pond. He covers it with the shade net to prevent the evaporation losses, and that complete water he is using to grow floriculture. I found him the best entrepreneur I have ever seen, where he has created such a huge thing, roughly 60 lakh rupees around 7-8 years back. I met him, and today probably it will be worth 1 crore rupees. I can't imagine any farmer who can actually be earning 1 crore rupees from 2 acres of farmland where there is zero water available in the ground. We must all salute him. And our journey, just to summarize this, we were founded in 2016, where we started with the sensor to understand how exactly we can collect the insight from the ground that can help farmers. Today, we have got 16 customers. As I said, we work with around 4,000 farmers, but we don't go to farmers directly. We work through corporates. That's where it is 16. And cumulatively, we have got around 27,000 plus acres of farmland. And totally, we have saved around 3.8 plus billion liters of water and around 3,270 megawatt hours of electricity. And we are working across 4 different crops, and we're around 7 states and 3 countries. And our target is to cover around 50,000 acres of land by 2024. And when we talk about our technology, it's not only we sell the technology, we are also okay to give it on subscription, because technology is a bit expensive at times. To make it affordable to farmer, we have adopted the subscription where they can take it on a 3-year or 5-year basis, depending on what they choose. The price varies, but it becomes more affordable for them. And now I'm on to a slide that talks about our customers and partners. And we have got big customers like Bayer Crop Sciences, Unilever, AED Parry, ITC, Seven Acids kind of people. And also in terms of cooperative movement, we have got big clients like IFCO Kisan and Fortune Rice. And not only that, we are also partnered with International Rice Research Institute, IRRI, ICAR, CIMIT, Asian Development Bank. All these people have looked at our technology, appreciated the impact that's making on the farmers, and have supported us and have partnered with us. And even the big tech giants like Cisco or the Google kind of thing, even they have been our partners in our journey and they have supported us. And well, that's all I had today. I'll stop here. I'll be happy to take questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mallesh, for the presentation and the talk. And now take up some questions. I think most of them you must have already answered also. Still, I'll read out. How does IoT technology help farmers in monitoring crop health?
There are two ways to look at that. One is, why does the crop fall sick, right? If you are able to understand that, it happens primarily for 2, 3 reasons. One is what can be controlled, such as irrigation when the water is available. And if I take the example of paddy, farmers are flooding the field. When they flood the field, there are a lot of stress on the crop. And as a result, there will be fungal diseases. Now, what does our technology do? It asks the farmer to control the irrigation, allow the ground to dry up in between. So this is helping our farmer to reduce the fungal diseases. So this is one way to look at. Second one is basically using technology, you'll be able to monitor the crop health through satellites. There are various companies and various technology or mobile applications that are available where they start monitoring the crop health across large area using satellite, but it's not very precise. Of course, we need to get it as an indicator, then go to the field and check that out. And third one is based on the amount of fertilizer that you're providing and the pest and disease instances, you will be able to proactively predict what are the chances of pest and disease. It's something like today in Bangalore, the temperature is around 37 or 38 degrees. And if I am out full day traveling in hot sun and if I have not had any good amount of water, I know by end of the day, I may be feeling very weak or very thirsty kind of thing. So plants also go through similar kind of stress. So when if there is a set, if using a weather station, if you are able to understand what is the temperature and what are the remaining other parameters, we'll be able to predict over a period of time what is the stress that is causing on the plant. As a result, what kind of pest and diseases can attack. So these are few different ways by which you will be able to figure out how to monitor the instance of pest and diseases.
Okay. And what are the benefits of using IoT sensors for soil moisture monitoring in agriculture?
Yeah, one benefit is most often what you cannot measure, you cannot improve. In India especially, we believe what we are doing is right with right quantity, but there is no measurement of that. So what IoT has done in case of soil moisture and all those things is, it is bringing the measurement into the picture. If I'm able to measure today and if I go to a consultant and tell, yesterday I gave 100 liters of water to my banana plant, and this is the problem, he'll be able to understand and precisely give advisory. Compared to that, if you say I gave 2 hours of irrigation, but still my plant is sick, he may not give a precise advisory. So IoT is bringing a precise measurement mechanism so that the analysis can be more accurate.
Okay. And can you explain how IoT devices assist in precision agriculture practices?
Yeah, there are 2, 3 different ways. One is just we discussed about how the sensors can actually measure the water level kind of thing. It need not be water level. It can be the temperature. It can be humidity, solar radiation. It can measure most of these things. Now, there are different ways by which this can be put into use. If you take the example of a banana plantation, say 5 acres of plantation where you have got one pump and say imagine there are 4 plots. Now, with our IoT solution, we'll be able to put 4 soil moisture sensors that can measure the moisture in all these 4 different plots. And say the plantation has happened over a period of 4 different months, okay, so that you can get the crop throughout the year. And in one plot, if the crop is asking for water, our system will automatically check if the power is available. And if the power is available, it will check which plot is asking for water. It will open that valve, it will turn the pump on, it will take the water precisely what is required so that the moisture will reach the field capacity. And then it will shut the entire system down, both the valves as well as pump controller. Now, if you can imagine these activities to happen if without IoT, then obviously farmer should be there, or if it is some caretaker should be there. He has to be aware when the power is going to be coming. We don't know whether the power is going to come at 11 in the morning or at 11 at night or 1 o'clock at night. Sometimes power comes at 1 o'clock. Once again, it fails at 1:30 and comes back at 2 o'clock. So with our IoT being there, it continues to monitor 24/7 and continues to work with the farmer to keep the fields at a very good field capacity. That's the advantage of our IoT systems.
Okay. And what role does IoT play in optimizing irrigation systems for efficient water usage?
Sorry, can you repeat?
What role does IoT play in optimizing irrigation systems for efficient water usage?
One thing
Shall
we
I
can
post it in? Yeah.
correct. One thing that we can look at is it can precisely understand what was the water requirement for the entire crop duration and how much of water is being given. And imagine, okay, if I talk to a consultant might say, for the 5-acre example I took for the banana, he might say we need to run the pump for maybe 2 hours. But if the temperature is 39 degrees, which he may not be aware when he gave the advice, we may be still running only for 2 hours, but actually the requirement may be 2.5 hours. At the same time, maybe there is no water in the borewell, so I can't run for even for 1.5 hours. So what do we do is the question. So our IoT system can actually continue to run the system when there is water in the borewell as well as when there is power available to run the system. So that's where it can make it kind of autonomous. That means it can run independent of any human interventions. And that's where the irrigation can be more precise to what you call to measure the amount of water that was required for the plant according to the stage, which can also vary according to the stage. In the early stages, maybe it's going to be giving less. And as the plant continues to grow, it can give slightly more water. And at the fruit bearing kind of thing, it can increase the water. And once you start ripening, probably it can reduce the water. Farmer need not understand and remember these things. Once it is programmed by the expert advice and kept it on the cloud, it can execute these things automatically without much intervention.
Okay. And how do IoT-enabled drones contribute to pest management in agriculture?
The drone is a different concept where it is doing multiple activities. The first one, drone can be used for surveillance. That means we can use drone where it can fly over a piece of land and it can identify which part of the land is harvested or which part of the land where there is crop and there is a stress on the crop. It can go close to the crop and find out what is the pest that is there or what kind of diseases are there at what stage of the crop. And then it can go back and probably we can have a combination of a surveillance drone and a spray drone, where in case of sprayer, you can actually fill the pesticide or the fertilizer, whatever is required to be sprayed according to the pest and disease problem that has been noticed. And the second one can actually fly and spray it. Now, do we need to do along with the labor? Definitely not. We can have expert people, okay, like the expert drone pilot who can actually run this system independent of the labors. And the advantage is I can cover maybe 10 to 20 acres in one day to completely spray with fertilizer or the pesticide. Whereas if I had to do with the same manual labor, it's going to be taking a lot of time. Because human is a human, he might be willing to work throughout the day, but when the temperature is 38 degrees or 40 degrees, walking in water, walking on field is not easy. Whereas with drone, these things are addressed and we can make the, the activities taken as and when it is required. So that's how I look at IoT and drone working together to provide solution to farmers.
Okay. And in what ways does IoT technology aid in predicting weather patterns for better farm planning?
There are two things. One is when we talk about IoT and weather prediction, it's not IoT that predicts the weather, but actually it's a satellite. So through remote sensing or satellite, we'll be able to predict through various algorithms like machine learning and artificial intelligence. If based on some past few years of data, we will be able to predict what would happen in the coming few days. But as you are able to see, the prediction is definitely going wrong most often in India. Most often in these days, not only in India, across the world. So people are the departments are predicting the temperature is going to be high, and they come back saying that no, it's actually very high, more than what they anticipated. So it is still at a level where it needs a lot of improvement. But unfortunately, the global warming is happening at a very rapid pace, throwing every calculation out of the window.
Okay. And what are some benefits of using IoT in livestock management, and what specific applications exist in this area?
We have not worked on livestock, but based on my understanding, having interacted with few people who are in that space, there are people who have got IoT solution that actually monitors the body temperature of the cows and other things. And by monitoring that, they will be able to find out whether the cow has been active or it has become pregnant kind of thing. If so, when they should start milking it, or for how long it's not going to be giving milk, what kind of nutrition should be given, and whether it is getting into any stressful situation. All these things they're able to predict so that they can take the proactive action. So this is what I'm aware, but I don't have much information on that.
Okay. And what role does data analytics play in maximizing the effectiveness of IoT solutions in agriculture?
See, when we talk about IoT, it is nothing but a sensor that is sitting in the ground. And there are some sensors that can continue to collect data in real time. That means every second one data. Can you imagine in 1 minute we have got 60 seconds, and if you're collecting data in 1 minute, there'll be 60 records, and in 1 hour it becomes 3,600. You can imagine how much it's going to become over a period of 1 year. So if you're talking about weather station, there are people who ask for once in every minute kind of thing, and there are people who will ask for once in every 10 minutes or once in every hour kind of thing. However, when we talk about IoT, the amount of data is something, okay, that is going to be significantly high. So that's where the data analytics comes into play to eliminate the what do you call anomalies, that incorrectness, inaccuracy or incorrectness of the data, and to eliminate the duplication. And also, if there is no information that has come, imagine the temperature has remained constant, okay, from 6 o'clock in the evening till 8 o'clock at night. So there is no point in me loading my database between 6 and 8. Instead, I can have an algorithm that can actually consider only when the temperature changes. If at 6 o'clock, if the temperature is 28 degree, and at 8 o'clock it becomes 28.5, that means I can safely presume the temperature between 6 and 8 o'clock was 28 degrees. So that's one of the advantages that we see here.
Okay. And how does IoT technology facilitate remote monitoring and control of agricultural operations?
IoT technology, remote monitoring. See, when we talk about remote, it can be interpreted in different ways. Remote is nothing but I don't want to be sitting in the farm, but I want to control that. So here, since we are collecting data from the sensors and moving on to cloud, we'll be able to log into the cloud, and through that, we'll be able to take control of the activities. For example, if I'm sitting in my house and if I'm trying to monitor my farmland that is in Mysore or any other place, I'll be able to check what is happening, whether the irrigation is happening, whether I need to provide more irrigation, less irrigation. As I said, if the control need to be altered for any reason, I'll be able to take care of that. That's one part of that. Second one, if I'm shifting from one crop to another crop, imagine one season I have done tomato, next season I want to grow brinjal. The amount of water that is required is also going to be changing. So that's where this cloud-based algorithms or remote monitoring kind of thing is going to come into help, where we can do a lot of changes on the cloud without actually affecting the activities to be done at a ground level.
Okay. And yeah, can you discuss any real world examples where IoT has made significant impact on agriculture practices or productivity?
Yeah, I took few examples earlier. I will go back.
Harish and Shivram.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I'll take some examples from Punjab now. See, we are working with thousands of farmers. And when we spoke to these farmers around 4 years back, one point that they said is they've got enough water. Why should they save water? Because when you have more water, there is no point in we asking them to save water. So we told them we are not asking you to save water, but we are asking if you want to grow more, that means if you want higher yield. So that's how we started our conversation. So we told them if you want to get higher yield, then you have to look at to use less water. And then how to use less water? We have got a technology that can actually measure, monitor, and advise you. And their concern was, do we need to have a smartphone? We said definitely not, because our entire concept is how do you simplify the thing? Our sensors will collect the data and push it onto the cloud, and from there it goes to the farmer as a SMS, which is a text on his mobile. And if he's not taking any action, next day he will get a call on his mobile phone. So both this SMS as well as call can happen on any phone, even if it is a 500 rupee phone. So that's how the technology started helping them. Second year, they came back to us and said, because they started using less water, the fungal problems have reduced. Now, we try to put together the entire thing saying that what is the benefit for them? In Punjab, on an average, a farmer is getting around 3 tons per acre, 3 tons of paddy. And every ton is being sold at roughly around 20,000 rupees. So you can imagine 1 acre he is making 60,000 rupees of money. To that he is spending roughly around 30,000 rupees, anywhere between 20 to 30,000 rupees, depending on the labor and other challenges. Now, when we talk about 5% yield increase, it translates to 5 into 60,000, which is around 3,000 rupees of yield increase, right? So that's one benefit that we got to the farmers, especially in terms of yield increase. Second one, in terms of pest reduction, it came to around 1,200 rupees. So if you add the 3,000 plus 1,200, it becomes 4,200 rupees, then around 1,000 rupees of labor reduction. So we were able to give a farmer roughly around 5,000 rupees of additional money in his hand through reducing the expenses that he was incurring and increasing the yield. So this is one example. Now, because of this success story, it has grown to a larger number in Punjab and even other places.
Okay. And just 2 to 3 more questions. What challenges do farmers face when implementing IoT solutions in agriculture, and how can these challenges be addressed?
See, one thing is their apprehension saying that IoT is a high-end technology, which is true. So what we do is we tell them it could be something like you're driving a very sophisticated car. It does not mean you should know the mechanics of that. As long as you know how to change the gear, how to hold the steering, and how to apply the brake, you'll be able to run the car. That's the fundamentals. So here we are telling the farmer saying that you know farming. All we are telling is some information we are giving it to you. And we conduct a lot of training, lot of workshops where we take a lot of feedback from the farmer. We give confidence to them saying that we are there to learn and work along with the farmer. It's not that we tell something to farmer and he has to follow that. So a lot of handholding is required and patience is required in agriculture, because it's not that I tell something and today itself it's going to get done. So it will take a lot of time for the farmer to understand what we are saying. They need to see the results, and yeah, it definitely takes time. So that is our experience, and I think many of us are having this kind of challenges.
Okay. And just 1 second. Okay. No, I think most of them have been answered. Livestock. Yeah. Can you provide examples of how IoT devices are used for monitoring soil health and nutrient levels?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? How?
Can you provide examples of how IoT devices are used for monitoring soil health and nutrient levels?
I already explained. No? So, soil health is nothing but a derivation of what you are doing in terms of irrigation and fertilizer management. So that's one way to do that. Nutrient level, there are different people who have got different kind of devices where you can take some soil sample and measure that. The key difference is it's not only just measuring, but actually that can be put onto a system on the cloud or on your computer, which will tell you this is the present level of soil nutrient, and to grow a particular crop, these are the additional nutrients that are required at different stages. It can become a smart algorithm which can actually guide the farmer, saying that how much fertilizer he has to apply at what stage and what kind of dilution he has to do that. So that's how systems can actually help farmers to, in terms of what do you call, managing the fertilizer requirements of a crop.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mallesh, we don't have any further questions. And before we end, one question from my side, like, can you share a little bit about your career background and what made you to take an interest in this agriculture subject and especially the IoT?
I come a background of engineering. I finished my engineering in 1987 from Bangalore, and it was industrial production engineering. However, having come from an agriculture background, I was very passionate about agriculture, and I was pained to see the stress that the farmers are going through. So I finished my engineering, wanted to do something in agriculture, but unfortunately we didn't have a farmland to get into. So I came to IT. I worked in software industry for almost 20 years. So once I came back from United States in 1998, I bought 10 acres of farmland near Bangalore to understand what is it to be like a farmer and what are the challenges of a farmer he undergoes. Because the way I looked at it is, if I'm having first-hand information, then only my solution can be better. So I got first-hand information. Then I realized it is not the real challenges, but because farmers are not systematic. Farmers are not understanding the process, or they don't have data on their hands. they're making wrong decisions. So that's where I decided basically I need to bring in something into this agriculture. And which area, because agriculture is a vast field. I realized there are two fundamental problems. One is water and second one is nutrition. So that's how Cultivate focused on bringing technology into this one. And the second one is when you talk about technology, it could have been a mobile application where you send people to field collect data. But I realize sometime if I'm sending my person to my village, obviously it's going to give me a biased data. So to make it more independent and make it more accurate and seamless, I felt we need to bring in IoT, which is the latest technology, and it's going to be lasting for next few years. So all these things made me take up IoT and build a company called Cultivate with a brand called Cultivate, and yeah, that's where we are.
Okay, so you left your job or continuing?
No, I left my job in 2007. It's been
Hmm.
7 years since I went to a company to work. Now we are happy to give advisory to the same companies with whom we were trying to work earlier.
Okay, okay, okay. So currently you're the CEO of this Cultivate company.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. 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 That's very good to know. So yeah. Okay, Mr. Mallesh. So I don't see any more questions. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we like to thank you for a very interesting and detailed presentation and answering all the questions in depth. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed. Have a good and safe weekend.
Thank you very much. It was a great opportunity for me to talk and share my experience. I really appreciate the effort you have taken to follow up with me multiple times and making this happen. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
most welcome.